Shalom, my name is Yeshua Yaakov Ben Avraham, and the name of this video is What's Happening? Okay, let me fix a couple things here. Okay, so what's happening? Well, Michael Jackson has been buried. Um, the eulogies have been all conveyed. And Old Bird has eulogy I wrote been well received. Okay, let's focus on really what has to be done. The world is in a difficult time, and God has ended man and mankind's exile. This is the single most significant event, and we have to accept it. And when I write and speak and make videos, 75,000 views, and it's gratifying, but all things said, and the hacking notwithstanding, and the attacks upon humanomics in general and its central organizing principle, receiving to give in particular, the clear message is that the end of man and mankind's exile impacts every human being on the planet. The question is, how do we understand this? How do we cope with it? How do we comprehend what is in fact happened? Well, communism and capitalism collapsed, and is it a coincidence? Obviously not. There is a crisis of culture, man's fear, man's greed is a slow vibration on the consciousness wave that over many years has been clearly moving toward this collapse. It's finally come. Having said that, now that it has happened, man and mankind is in denial, and so when we define that God has ended man's exile, one would think, well, that's a very significant, in fact, the most significant event in the millennium. It is. Okay, then what? How do we prove it? Well, obviously, the collapse of communism and capitalism was not a coincidence. Okay, and this fear and greed of a crisis of culture in man was global. It was based upon a model of man's mind of exile, which was giving to receive. It means I give, I get. That's the local reality that collapsed. And when you collapse the local reality, you're in the quantum reality. Okay, so this has ended. All right, so here Yeshua Yaakov is telling everybody on the web this has happened. And the result is most people are responding to Yeshua Yaakov's message as the desire for recognition, to be listened to. Mistake. The motivation of these videos is to gain acceptance by the viewers and mankind of the reality that that God has ended man's exile. And when we accept this, we're capable to move on to inhabit. Well, we have to end the denial that it's happened first to accept it, and then we have to deconstruct ground zero in its particularity, in its form that's particular to us. Well, God imposed the collapse of the local reality on Michael Jackson and his family and his community and a few 100 million fans. Michael was a well-intended young man. He was an anti-gravity bird. And as we know, there is no such thing as an anti-gravity bird. So you can fly just so long and high and fast, and 50 years and it's all over. And what's left? What is the legacy? If man burns the candle at both ends and self-abuses, and the sociopath and psychopath of man's exile converge, you get a collapse of the local reality, you get self-destruction. Well, these are the very patterns. This is what happened to Elvis and to Michael, and it will happen to many others. This is not a good model for our young people to emulate, because even though well-intended, he lived in the model of exile, which was giving to receive, which meant I give, I get. That's finished. Okay, so let's move on. I wrote the eulogy, The Bird, and I will read it quickly if I can find it, because it is, I guess I can't find it, so I guess I won't read it. But it's very important that, oh, I did find it. It's very important that we understand that although the intention was to say good things, we have to be honest and in balance and say what has to be said. Michael was responsible for his self-destruction. His narcissism and nihilism overtook him, and it will overtake any man. God is long-suffering and patient. He gave Michael many chances to correct, and he didn't. Okay, the rest is history. Okay, the poem that I wrote is called "O Bird," the poem, the eulogy, and it goes like this, and I hope you like it. I dream the dream to live the dream. In time and time is the dividing of time. In living the dream, life's trial did test its flight. Still I learned to love the dream, that it never die. In believing, receiving, from God is ever bestowing. In use faith, wanting, unafraid, yet unable to receive. Continued dreaming, did ascend to inhabit life's flight. As in dreams wasted, our tears paid, no one can abide. Composed and sung, every harmony's flight served, while demons stalked exile's night streams. In troubled grammars and riddled uncertainty, undermining hope to destroy the soul's trust in flight, sowing doubt against the author's dream of ascent, who shared exile's long night and rose winged. He compassed exile's night in endless awe of day, dispelled the child's fear, in identity blessed and left, saying adieu, love abide, and if not, return eternally. And still I dream he'll come again, and he does, as together we now inhabit peace, eternal dream. In our place there's no dream we cannot abide, and no tempest great we cannot together transcend. In dream's life I was, its destiny's now humble master. Blessed in life is man, absent the child's fantasies, as now life's triumph has slain the killer of dreams. In love's wealth of memory I accept the true castle's gate. In man's soul we live, abide, and inhabit life's wings. Amen and amen. Thank you. I hope you like it. And we have to move on and inhabit humanomics. That's the message to the hundreds of millions. There's no legacy left. There's an empty void. And so we have to see that God's will is the purpose of man's existence, and the ascent from a behavioral mammal to a cognitive being, the collapse of the logority ends man's exile, and we ascend to the quantum reality of man's redemption and his authentic identity. We have to learn what this is, we have to accept it, and we have to inhabit it in mind. Thank you for listening. I'm Yeshua Yaakov.